Hi everybody, this is Agnes from Sediment, and today let's talk and taste, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Prestige Cuvee Champagnes, Comtes de Champagne from Taittinger. Taittinger has long and rich history. It was founded in 1734 and remains a family-owned estate to this day. However, like I said, the history is particularly interesting because in 2005 it was sold to Starwood Capital. The most romantic part of this story, at least in my book, is that Pierre-Emmanuel Taittinger bought it back, and now it is once again in the hands of the family, those who proudly wear the same name, Taittinger. I have been incredibly lucky to meet Pierre-Emmanuel Taittinger on several occasions, and hearing him talk about champagne is a treat. He is not your typical business person who talks about their wines in a rehearsed manner just to follow marketing agenda. You can see that he and his family truly are in love with champagne. And they are as bubbly as champagne itself and show balance between playfulness and seriousness, exactly how I think of champagne. So, judging by the introduction, you can definitely tell that I love Taittinger champagne. Furthermore, they own around 288 hectares in Champagne, which means they have a huge influence on grape growing as well. Their style, in my view, can be described as light and elegant, introverted if you will. However, their champagnes show depth and complexity and are truly inviting. But today we are here to talk about and taste Taittinger Prestige Cuvee, their flagship, Crème de la Crème Comtes de Champagne. As you can see, it is bottled in a very unique bottle and in my opinion is one of the most underrated Prestige Cuvée Champagnes. Introduced in 1952, Comtes de Champagne Blanc has always been made from 100% Chardonnay grapes sourced from the best locations in Côte de Blanc, Avize, Menil-sur-Oger and Auger. Despite undergoing full malolactic fermentation and an average aging on the lees for 8 to 10 years, it always seems very shy, almost closed when released, and yet is capable of developing and maturing for decades in the bottle. And never have I ever been disappointed by this label, and that says a lot. Not that long ago you could even find it slightly above €100 mark, but unfortunately for us wine lovers, that is now a history. This label is usually produced only in the best years and in quantities between 150 to 300,000 bottles. For comparison, there are Prestige Cuvées that are produced in millions of bottles and released almost every year. That naturally makes Comtes de Champagne harder to source, and yet the price is still very competitive. But enough talking, let's finally taste.
You also want to taste?
Okay, bottle is finally open and let's enjoy the champagne. On the nose, it shows very classical Chardonnay characteristics. You have orange blossom, you have meadow, you have ripe white fruits, and you have brioche. However, just as I mentioned in the beginning, it is a bit shy. I was reading about the vintage, which actually was quite challenging, and many critics said that it was past its best. Maybe it was a bit easier to work with Chardonnay in this specific vintage in 2011. However, it was overall a challenging year for winemakers and viticulturists in Champagne region. And it is not past its best. It is not even close to being tired. I mean, it is still very shy, as I mentioned in the beginning, and still quite energetic on the nose. I haven't tasted it yet, so let's taste it. Okay guys, so this is the reason why I said that Comtes de Champagne is one of the most underrated Prestige Cuvées out there, because 2011, relatively hot vintage, and many producers struggled to retain acidity, to retain that energy, to retain that freshness. You probably can hear from me talking that I keep swallowing my saliva, so the acidity here is quite high. It is very energetic wine. On the palate, I will be honest, it seems a bit more open and more voluptuous, if you will. Like, it is kind of rounded and maybe not as linear or lean as maybe the nose suggested, but it is still very energetic and is still very, very young wine. So I would actually be happy to open this wine after 5 or maybe even 10 years. It is opening up on the nose as well, so we start to feel some rye bread on the nose. So maybe slight smaller white berries as well. It is really, really floral, like you have this cherry blossom, but not in a reductive way, because sometimes floral characters for me can also be linked with reductiveness, but here these are really beautiful and inviting and kind of part of that ripe white peach fruit character. And there's kind of almost like crushed stones in it, like crushed wet stones from the sea floor. Really lovely nose, I like it. Is this the most exciting, the most complex and the richest 100-point champagne from Comtes de Champagne? Probably not, but to make this beautiful wine in such a difficult and challenging vintage, not only make it, but also make it great, I think that's important. And this is the reason why, in my opinion, Comtes de Champagne is one of the most underrated prestige cuvées out there. And I can say you with certainty that there are many other bad vintages, or not necessarily bad, but maybe considered not great vintages. And yet, Comtes de Champagne always finds the way and delivers. What's in your mind the most underrated Prestige Cuvée Champagne or Champagne house in general? Let me know in the comments. And something tells me that you like champagne, so make sure to watch this video next.